Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever this video finds you. I hope you're having a rad time. I'm the Figure Dude, and on today's action figure showcase, I'm going to get extreme with part 1 of my ECW collection. Without further ado, let's talk about some figures. Dude. Welcome back. Like I said, today is going to be part 1 of my ECW collection. I do have a bunch of ECW customs that I have done, and I didn't want this video to be like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. It would have been a real long one if I tried to get every single ECW figure of mine into this video. I do have a bunch of customs because besides this Bam Bam Bigelow, we haven't really gotten just like an ECW figure. Like, he is in his ECW attire here. He spent time, so this figure I think came with the television title, ECW television title, which I do have on one of my custom Rob Van Dams. But other than that, like, we have really been starved for original ECW talent. I think we got a Tommy Dreamer basic because he was in ECW at the time. Trying to just look back over on my shelf, I don't think, like, we haven't gotten ECW figures. We've gotten Rob Van Dam, but I mean, arguably you can put his like Tiger Stripe attire in there, but really, I mean, the contract situations for a lot of those ECW guys are going to be impossible. Some of them are in other promotions like Taz. Like Tommy Dreamer and Rhino have been in Impact, but I mean, you just know that like Mattel's not going back to make a bunch of those ECW guys because of ECW, how graphic some of it was, compared to like the PG that we have now. And I say that we've got like Godfather, who we got a sexual chocolate figure, even though it only said chocolate on it. So, you know, I mean, never say never, but all this to say, most of these, if not all, are custom. So besides this Bam Bam, every figure that you're going to see on this showcase is going to be a custom that I have done. So I'm going to quit talking. I'm going to grab all of my ECW figures for this showcase, and then we'll get extreme. Alright, like I said, this Bam Bam was in one of the Target series. Was it a Legends figure? I think this Bam Bam was a Legends figure. He came with the television title, ECW television title, but when I think of that title, I think of Rob Van Dam. That's who I have it on my shelf. And honestly, I didn't really watch ECW back in the day the way I did WWE, WCW. It wasn't, I don't even know if I had the channel that it came on as a kid. It wasn't something I could really search out, so like, my memory of Bam Bam Bigelow was just his time in WWF, really. So, like, even as a kid, I wasn't, like, a huge fan. Going back and watching, like, he was nuts. I wish I would have known more about him. But that is the only ECW attired figure that we have currently. Next up here is someone that I will bet my life is never getting a Mattel figure, and that is New Jack. He was nuts. Obviously, there was the Behind the Ring, or Dark Side of the Ring, I can't remember which it was, about him, and I mean, the guy was crazy, but you think ECW, like, a lot of those guys were crazy. New Jack fit in great there. This head scan is one of the misprints from Haus 14 that I have gotten, but other than that, it's a pretty simple formula that I went with. I did try a few other things. I tried like the Dudley leg mold with their red pants. I tried that. I tried the Sergeant Slaughters, but I just didn't like how it fit. And height wise, I was cool with this. Typically use those big legs or those shield legs, and the guys end up a little bit too tall. But I was happy with how this came out. They were just some plain black arms. I think another Junkyard Dog figure. And then the shirt came from Kaos Wrestling Club. Right? I think I'm having a moment. I gotta have some more coffee. Chaos Wrestling Club. Yeah, I think that's his name on Instagram. Jason Plott, he does shirts, he does belts. His belts are amazing. I'm waiting for some to come in the mail, but when I get those, I will absolutely be unboxing them. I'm really excited for those. But yeah, he's who got me this shirt. I normally get stuff from Threadhead, but Jason is a guy I've come to talk to every now and then, and he was a part of the custom figure tournament that I was in and won the fan vote for. So I've started getting some more stuff from him. But he's one of the guys that's always in my description. Hit him up if you want some shirts. But he gave me this New Jack one. First part of the showcase today. New Jack. Next up, we have the Human Suplex Machine. We have Taz. And this figure is, again, a custom. He was on Work in Progress Wednesday on like my first or second episode, maybe. This has been a figure that has kind of eluded our collections. We did get a Classic Superstars figure of this in this kind of attire with this singlet. But the Jax Classic Superstars Taz is like the same height as Undertaker. Obviously, he is not the same height as Undertaker. That was one thing with Jax. I love Jax, but their scaling, I mean, there wasn't much of a scale. For the most part, there were, like, Giant Gonzalez is bigger than everyone else. Their Andre the Giant was bigger than everyone else. And then every other figure was pretty close to the same size, same body mold, whatnot, including Taz. Not saying it's not a bad figure. I think I actually took this head scan from a Jax figure and repainted it. But this is one of my favorite customs, personally. I've got his tattoos on there. He used Yokozuna biceps. I used some Alberto Del Rio forearms. And then the legs are from one of the Bronson Reed Elites. And, like, so I've seen, like, the Big E. I've seen Big E bodies used for Taz. I've seen a few, like that. I think that's probably the most common formula I have seen is just like a Big E body repainted. But I thought that was a little too big, like up top for him. The torso is a Finley torso that I repainted. I think the crotch pieces too, or it might just be a plain black crotch piece. But I try to go a little outside the box, and I love this Taz. I don't have any designs or anything on the singlet. I just have the plain black, orange boots, and everything. But Taz is someone who I always thought was really cool. I don't think he ever had a deal with Mattel. He was in TNA for a while, and now he's in AEW, obviously. We did get that AEW figure, but that's obviously the current Taz. I don't even know if they would be able to go back and make a singlet Taz. I don't really know. Like, he was in ECW. I don't know if he was in anything else before that, wrestling. So they're not going to have those rights, but maybe, I don't know if Taz even wrestled in TNA. If there was anything that we could get besides just Manager Taz, I'm not a huge fan of that figure. And I mean, I don't think a lot of people are. That Taz figure, the Chase, just kind of sits on eBay. Sits like, if I see a Chase, I'm going to buy it, but it's one of the least exciting Chases, which I do have myself. I have the regular and I have the Chase. But this Elite, I love. Personally, love it. One of my favorites. Next up is Tommy Dreamer, and this one, so like, this custom is, again, a Jax head. We did get a Jax Tommy Dreamer that had the license while we had the WWE version, and we did get like some ECW throwback figures with them, because they had the ECW show, like they had ECW then. I took the Jax head, I put it on, I tried to track down that Mattel figure, because this Jax head is a little bit bigger, but it blends into my collection fine. The Mattel basic of Tommy Dreamer is really hard to get. It's not like outrageously expensive, but it's more than I want to pay for a basic, and like the figure itself isn't that great, but I tried for quite a while to get him, and just never happened. The legs on him are from the Festival of Friendship Kevin Owens. So I'm pretty sure the like crotch piece and upper legs are from the Rock Then Now Forever series. but those were ball joints, and I wanted different pants, so I put on these Kevin Owens pants. So like, there's a little, like, they don't line up perfectly at the swivel, the thigh swivel, but like it does. You can't really tell from the front. It looks perfectly fine. So they're a little bit slimmer. They just fit this body a little better. And then the black T-shirt mold is from that same Rock figure, and the arms are actually from the IRS figure. So the black shoulders, I don't remember what figure those came on. It wasn't the Rock figure because he had, it was like a cutoff, but the biceps, so those arms are from an IRS figure. They have that like molded T-shirt on there, which I wish we would get more of. I love that mold. There's a lot of guys I could think that could use it, but nonetheless, we haven't gotten it. Maybe we will again eventually. I'd be like, it's Mattel. They always reuse stuff. But that is my Tommy Dreamer, and we're going to move on. Next up is the franchise Shane Douglas, and this was, I wanted Shane Douglas in my collection for a long time. And I could be wrong, but I don't think we have ever gotten Shane Douglas figure. We did get the, so this head is from one of the old San Francisco toy maker figures, and I picked it up at like my local collectibles comic store. It was really cheap. It was like $5, and I was like, what the heck? I'll try it. I cut off the neck. I dremeled a hole inside of it like the Mattel heads, and it modded it, and it popped right on. I did have to repaint it a little bit. I do have the trunks design on him. Oops. Well, just on the back there has the F, the franchise. He is 2/3 of the Triple Threat group. Him, Bam Bam, and Chris Candido. I have not made a Chris Candido yet. I'm going to. I have as well for him a toy, not Toy Biz. Toy Biz was WCW. I interchanged them accidentally every now and then. I do have an old San Francisco toy maker's Chris Candido, but the head's a little smaller, so I don't know if it's going to scale well, or at least to my liking. So that's one thing I'm going to try out, and it'll probably make its way to Work in Progress Wednesday eventually. But for now, I have Shane Douglas. I have Bam Bam. I've got 2/3. I do not have any women's ECW customs, but you never know. Down the line, they'll probably join my collection. My goal, like I think I've said before, my goal is to just add everyone. At least one of everyone. I mean, even the useless, like the deep cut guys. Get me a Simon Diamond. Gosh, I'm trying to think who else. Like, in WCW, one of my favorite late WCW matches is Kwee against... I don't even remember the guy's name. It was just some generic guy. It was a like cruiserweight-ish match to start the card, and it was awesome. But I only remember Kwee because the dude looked nuts. His name was Kwee, and it was a great match. But like deep cut guys that are never going to get a figure, let alone like even like some of these smaller brands like Zombie Sailors, Cella Toys, like stuff like that. Those are the guys I want to add to my collection. Which now I say that, I want to say that I did, that there is a Simon Diamond figure coming. Anyway, back to what we're doing here. Here's my Shane Douglas. I used an Austin torso. I used some Tully Blanchard legs, and then the lower legs I actually took from a Ricochet figure, that the like black tights calves, and then I painted the shoes, or painted the boots, painted the Ultimate Warrior like leg sleeves. And then those knee pads are from the basic Tyson Kidd. So nothing too crazy on the formula. I just love always piecing things together, and I think this is one that came together really well, and I love how this looks. Next up is Steve Carino, the king of old school, and admittedly, I don't know a lot about Steve Carino. Like I said, I didn't watch ECW, especially towards the end before they came into WWE, but I have gone back, I've gone back and watched a lot of the weekly shows that ECW had, and there's a lot, they were on for a few years, and I started at like the beginning, like when Sandman was still a surfer. And if you haven't seen that, you should go back. It's interesting, but Steve Carino came in towards the end. He wasn't the guy that jumped over to WWE after ECW was bought out. So like for the longest time, I mean, most of my time being a wrestling fan, I didn't know who he was really. Like I had seen him. I had always just my most of my knowledge of Steve Carino was people using CM Punk head scans to make customs of him. But then the more I watched, the more I realized like he was a relatively important part to ECW at the end there, and it's unfortunate that he didn't get more shine. But he was a pretty cool character. He started out as a heel, eventually became a babyface, and he definitely was beloved by ECW fans and needed a spot in my collection. So I got this head scan from Federation, I'm pretty sure. And then it was just a pretty basic formula. The Daniel Bryan torso, the arms just were out of my fodder bin. I don't remember exactly. And then I used Barry Windham thighs as well as the boots. And then the calves, I'm not positive. I want to say they came from like the old Triple H figure, or like his Legends figure, but I really don't remember. I didn't paint those. They were stock black calves. But I mean, there's not a lot to Steve Carino. He's got the King of Old School on his tights. I know 3XR Studio did a yellow version of him that looks really good. So if you're looking for more ideas, you should check out his Instagram. But I have one more, and then that is going to wrap up part 1 of my ECW showcase. Last but not least, the aforementioned Sandman. And this is the kind of look that everyone thinks of Sandman. I had no clue that he started out as this like surfer gimmick, which makes the Sandman name funnier. Which I do. I want to make a surfer Sandman. I'm pretty sure he was ECW champion as this like surfer gimmick he had, which is just weird. Like he wasn't in like great shape. He still had like a belly. Like it's just funny. If you have not seen him, you should definitely go back to the beginning of ECW and check out Sandman as a surfer. But that is not how I thought of him. I thought of him in his Zubas and a t-shirt and a cane. And that is what I have here. I did originally make Sandman in his like black cutoff shirt and jeans. But the more I went back to like look at stuff, the more I just associated that with his like WWE run. So I wanted to go back a little more, find like a more classic look for him. So I did. So what I ended up doing was using some Usos legs. There were a few parts I messed around with. I know some people have used like the Mick Foley legs, but I just want to do things a little bit differently. I don't always want to try and follow what I mean, the community a lot of times will kind of agree on good formulas, which is going to happen when you have as many minds trying to make the best version of a guy. It's going to happen, and I'm not saying that mine's better. I'm not saying it's worse. It's just different. So I gave him Usos pants. He's got white shoes, and I'll probably... So the only reason that they don't go all the way to the bottom is just because... like the ankles swivel right here, so I just hadn't laid the decals over them perfectly. I had to cut them, but like I'll do that another day. I'm happy with how it looks. And then so I did say this mistakenly. So this Sandman shirt is from Jason Plott from Chaos Wrestling Club. The New Jack shirt is from Threadhead. So I just messed that up. Still, check him out. Check them both out. They do fantastic work. But the torso I used under Sandman was just the like Daniel Bryan torso. And then it is a Jack's head, a Jack's Classic Superstars head. I love the shirt. I think the shirt is perfect for Sandman. I know some people like to use the like tucked in look for him. Which I mean he did tuck in his shirt. So some people use the t-shirt mold, but this is what I went with. I really like it, and that is the last figure for part 1 of the showcase. I don't know if I'm going to do it right away next week, but there will be more ECW showcase. Like I said, I have a bunch of ECW figures. I'm going to get through all of them, but this is all of them for today. So, let's move Sandman back in here. See if we can refocus a little bit. A nice group shot of everyone. So, there we go. New Jack, Tommy Dreamer, Steve Carino, Sandman, Shane Douglas, Taz, and Bam Bam is going to round out part 1 of my ECW showcase. Please like, share, subscribe. I always appreciate that. Excuse me. I had a moment here. What was I going to say? Okay. If you want to reach out on Instagram, talk about some figures, please do. I always enjoy that. And remember, you can't buy happiness, but you can buy figures. Figure Dude, out.